So when we come here to practice Sila, Samadhi and Panya, that means practicing the path that leads to the end of dukkha. Sila is the one thing that keeps us within the confinement of our practice. In other words, it keeps us, when we look at the example of the boxing ring, it keeps us in our boxing ring. The sila is important to keep us, to make us aware where our true enemy lies. If we do not respect sila, if we do not respect moral precepts, then we are lost in the world like all the people that live in the world. They are lost. They never ever be able to look at the face of their true enemy. Look at the face of the kilesas. Sila, when you come here as a layperson, it is expected of you that you keep the 5 precepts. You know the 5 precepts, so I don't want to repeat it now. I also ask you, you can keep up 8 precepts, or you can keep up, we as monks have to keep our 227 rules. But I also ask you to be very, very careful about the most dangerous thing. And the most dangerous thing is called raga tanha, or the greed for sensual desire. And within the greed of sensual desires, sexuality sticks out. And sexuality is a great force. It makes the most damage. So when you come here, practicing your 5 precepts, I want to ask you to actually keep complete abstinence from any kind of sexual conduct. That includes masturbation. I don't know if the British are using 2 kinds for the 2 sexes. Masturbation, in German we have 2 words. Anyway, you will understand. Do not even think. Raga tanha, sexual desire, is the fire of the kilesas that brings everything to death. It brings Dhamma to death. If it's a small plant, it's like a hot wind that goes over the small plant of Dhamma and just dries it completely up. Even if the Dhamma is developed and it already starts to grow into a tree, this kind of sexual desire can dry up the roots of the tree and completely evaporate the tree. No Dhamma is left. Sexual desire starts with sexual thoughts. Be aware of it. Don't go into it. And I ask of you, be it male or being female, don't talk to the other sex. Don't have sexual contact. Don't have sexual thoughts about the other sex. Try to keep it in limit. It's far beyond your imagination how devastating this thing is. It really can ruin your practice. It can really ruin your spiritual life. Sexual desire doesn't know any bounds. It's by far the most worst. And it's not only coming out in direct sexual thought. It comes out in all sorts of things. So we have to look very carefully. Be also careful, when you're here, you do not talk to the other sex. And when we sit here, you separate. Men at one side, women at the other side. Don't get too close to each other. There's no need, except if it's really strictly business, to talk to each other. And just don't have any sexual fantasy about a person you know who is in the wife. Because that person, if it's a little bit experienced and practice, can read your thoughts. It just knows it. If you happen not to be able to let go of it, then do some asupa practice. Then the moment you see that face of that person, just get rid of the skin. Tear off the skin and look at the fresh meat. Look at the muscles, the bloody muscles and the bloody flesh. And I guarantee you, if you do it correctly, that moment all your sexual interest collapses. Even any kind of emotions you feel towards this person completely evaporates. If that wouldn't help, we as monks who live a celibate life would have no way getting beyond it, would have no way of getting happy with a celibate life. Just remember that. If there is a force that makes you tend to think in a sexual-oriented way, use asupa to cut it down. Don't let the fire burn. Because if we let this fire burn, it will burn us. It's just like holding our hands. They want to give a Dhamma talk. It's just holding our hands into fire, into ember. It's burning hot and burns our fire. It burns our hand and the skin and the meat. If we don't have anything to relieve, and we cannot use, as I said before, we cannot use the usual ways, like masturbation or sexual intercourse, to get rid of this fire of sexuality. If we don't, and that is the cold bucket for the people in the world, using this to cool off their sexual desire. We, as practitioners, don't have this. We cannot masturbate and we cannot have sexual intercourse. So we have to find another technique. And that's why I tell you this technique. We have to have another technique to get rid of this great force that is within us. And that is just removing the beautiful images that arouse our sexual interest and turning them upside down into something that is ugly and disgusting. That moment the ugliness and disgustedness arises in our heart, all the sexual interest drops immediately. We might have to do it quite a few times a day, but it will help. The more vivid the picture is of just raw meat and flesh, the faster our sexual interest will drop. And that is the only way. I don't know of any other way how to stop it. The only other method is not even let it able to be developed. Don't let any kind of thought that goes into this direction develop. That is the prevention of all this. But if it happens to get caught of us, then just use this technique. It's essential. You will need it if you want to stay happy as a practitioner, happy as a monk or happy as a nun. Otherwise, you will always be tormented by the sexual desire. And you all know how big it is. Sexual desire is not only the sexual interest, but this raga tanha is also sensual desires. Or when we look at the description of Freud, it can go in all sorts of different things. It can go in power, it can go into money, it can go into glory, and so on and so on. Normally, a big sports car is an expression of the sexual desire. Other things are as well. So be aware of it. If the flavor of your thoughts show you this goes in this direction, just don't. Drop it immediately. drop it, and don't pick it up. Even if it, the kilesas will persuade you that's the most interesting thing. Unless you don't have that weapon to eliminate it or evaporate it, don't even think in this way. It will just burn you endlessly. And there's no way out. You just burn up and dry up inside. And then you're just dried up human being. Having no sense for life. Having no sense for living. Dried up, humorless, and so on. And mostly angry within yourself. So don't let this happen. Prevent it from the beginning. If you can't prevent it, just evaporate it with the power of Dhamma. Evaporate it with turning the sexual interesting thing into something that is utterly disgusting, utterly ugly. Maybe it helps just imagine a piece of shit. I don't know. Mostly it helps because it is attached to the face or it is attached to the form of the other sex to rip this form apart. This is a method. And when we ordain, this is a method we have to develop. If you just practice it for a few months, and then we might not need to develop. But it will come on. The moment we are ordained, it will come. And it stays, and it will stay, and it will stay. Unless we find a way how to remove it. Once we overcome greed and hate, then it's gone. Gone forever, never coming back. So be careful. Be careful because here in this monastery there are both sexes. Normally the women stay in the women area and the men are not allowed in. Dhamma Mahabodhi, everybody he spots, who goes, a male person go to the women area, he kicks him out. Even if he spots a monk, talking to a woman alone. He's in danger to be kicked out. That it's not only my own opinion. It is the example of Dhamma Mahabodhi also who said it. He says it and he says it and says it. When he goes to give a talk in the public, it's most of the time he spends on this topic of ragatana. Of the sensual desire that is so devastating, that makes out of a flushing green meadow, it makes out of a desert. Nothing will survive. No plant of Dhamma will survive in this devastating heat of wind. And it comes very fast, we don't even see. So be prepared. As I said before, the sila or the moral precepts keeps us in the confinement of the boxing ring. The boxing ring is the arena of our practice. And once we are confined in the boxing ring, we clearly see the face of our enemy. Everything that tries to put us out of the boxing ring is the kilesas. That suggest we should do this, we should do that, or we like this, or we like that. That is not within the confinement of the sila. Just shows us, or just kicks us out of this ring. Once we are kicked out, it takes a long time to come back and to see the true face of the enemy. And the true face of the enemy is nothing else than the kilesas. Or the power that is behind the kilesas, that is called avijja. Don't underestimate this power. When I use the example that normally Tanacha Mahabua gives about practice, comparing it with boxing, don't think it is so easy, because the champion is very clever. The champion knows how to box, and each time he hits us, it hurts us. Each time he knocks us out, it takes a while to regain consciousness. In other words, it takes a while to get back our mindfulness. What has happened? What happened? What just happened? Our mindfulness was completely gone. Our awareness of what was going on was completely gone. In other words, we were knocked out. But this champion doesn't know only how to box. He knows us how to seduce. He knows how to put our attention to something else. He puts our attention to something, and gives us a blow on the back. He shows us the left side, or puts our attention on the left side, and he hits on us on the right side. Don't think you are cleverer than the kilesas. Don't think that you are a match for the kilesas yet. If the power of Dhamma has not developed yet, it is no match for the kilesas. So we can only do what our way to prevent great damage is. We just stick. We just stick with our work. We know the work we have to do. This is so simple, we can't forget it. It's a practice of samadhi, and it's a practice of panya, wisdom. So that means it's a practice of samadhi, that means calm meditation, just sticking to one object. Just this one object. Whenever the mind turns away, goes on thinking this, or goes on memorizing this, or goes on into the feelings, and so on, we just draw it back. That's all what we need. Just a little attention, just a little slap on the back, and it comes back to Buddha. Or it comes back to the breath, or it comes back to the combination of Buddha and the breath. No matter whatever your object you do. That is the practice of samadhi. So, we just go on doing our practice of samadhi. Or we go on doing our practice of investigation of the body. Investigating the body from outside, or investigating the body from inside. Seeing it with our inner eyes, clearly depicting it with our inner eyes, or dissecting it, or questioning it, or whatever. The way of investigation is really investigation a case. Well, just like Sherlock Holmes. He has to find clues, so we first have to find clues within the body. Then he has to investigate what is the reason, what is this reason, what is that reason. So he has to question what is happening within this realm of body. What is it what I call heart? What is it? At the moment it's still a symbol. Or what is it what I call lungs? At the moment it's still a symbol. What is attached to it might be a medical image. Now we go into the body and look at the lungs until we see them with our inner eyes. And then we cut it up. When we do investigation, we do not ask what kind of functionality does this organ have. This is wrong kind of wisdom. That's not wisdom, that is knowledge. We don't want to know. We want to understand what is this organ made of. And in the end, it boils down to 4 elements. It consists of air element, fire element, water element, and earth element. So, then we investigate the next organ. Then we cut it up. We see it with our eyes. We cut it up. until it boils down to the 4 elements. And in the end, everything that we investigate boils down to the 4 elements. So, everything within our body consists of the 4 elements. This is one way of investigation. But it really doesn't bring up the loathsomeness of this body. In order to bring up the loathsomeness, we really have to see with our inner eyes, to see the blood, the pus, all the things we don't like. Just think about the food that you ate this morning. Now, throw it up and look at it. This morning you enjoyed having this food in your mouth and eat it. Now it's still in the stomach, it's still not completely processed. Now you throw it up and you want to eat it again. Would you like it? No, it's disgusting. The first time you think about it, it's utterly disgusting, so that you actually might throw up. It's so disgusting. When you look at the food in the morning that you so much love to eat, and now look how it is in the stomach. And if there is no disgusting feeling coming up, then you're not doing something right. You're not really doing the investigation right. There should be a feeling of disgust, no matter how much, coming up. Then you really do it. Whenever you see an organ, when you look at the lungs, just feel it in your hands. Just take it out, put it in your hands, and feel it. Just the feel of this slimy thing, the slimy organ, covered with blood. Some people, just faint when they see blood. Now think about us, seeing our own blood. It's something that we don't like. So we bring it up to see what it is, to understand the true nature of dislike, to understand the true nature of disgust. That's why we bring it up. So once this feeling of disgust comes up, or sometimes when we do a super practice for a long time, really hate comes up. Hate comes up in not too low quantities. Be careful. Then we just stay with the hate. And as I explained a few days ago, now when we wage war against the kilesas, we don't let the war get out of this body. Do you understand that clearly? The moment there is hate within us, within our heart or within our mind, we do not let it out on other things or on other persons. This is against the rule. You can call it the Geneva Convention of War. This we cannot do. This we cannot allow. When we wage war against the kilesas, it's only within the confinement of this body. There's nobody else around us that will even imagine that we have a full-scale war going on. Because we do not show, we do not let this war get out of this body. I hope you understand. It's difficult. When we really do a supa, it is very difficult because there will, if you do it for a long time, there will hate come up. And why does hate come up? Because the kilesas don't like to see it. The kilesas like to live in the illusion that the body is something nice. We just need to see whatever comes into contact with this body, be it food, be it cloth, it all smells, it all stinks, the moment it gets in contact with this body. So what is so beautiful about this body? Reflect very carefully, reflect wisely. What is so beautiful about this body whatever comes into the contact with this body, or whatever goes into this body, is nice and beautiful and smells nicely. And whatever gets out of this body is of disgusting nature. Who likes to eat its own shit or urine? Nobody. We in the West, we flush it down the toilet, as fast as possible, not even looking at it. Not even want to smell it. That's why in our toilets there are all these smelling stones, that remove that disgusting smell that comes out of our body. And there are all these washing machines, that takes off the disgusting smell of our body out of the cloth that we wear. So if we don't like just the things that come out of this body, of what kind of disgusting nature must this body be? So if we can't see it, if we just look at our body, from a medical point of view, we find it actually amazing. So we do it in the wrong way. Just remember this. If we just don't like the products that come out of this body, then there must be something of a disgusting nature within this body as well. Let's see it. Let's bring it up. And let's stay with it. Let's stay with these feelings. Don't forget, this war is waged within us, not outside. So when there is anger coming up, then be clever. Use the anger against the kilesas who produce the anger. Don't use it against them. Don't let it out against somebody else. Use it against the force within us, against the tyrant or the oppressor that is within us, who actually produced this anger. You can also use this method when fear comes up or when pain comes up. Use this against the kilesas. The fear is coming from the kilesas. Doubt is coming from the kilesas. Pain is coming from the kilesas. They are the ones who produce it. So they produce also hate and greed. When you feel greed, be greedy for getting calm. Or greedy to do some investigation of the body. When you feel hate, turn it against the kilesas. See how much hate they produce. See how much hate, how unpleasant this hate is, how much dukkha is there. If the kilesas wouldn't be there wouldn't be any hate, there wouldn't be any greed. And there wouldn't be any dukkha. So they are our true enemy. Confine them with a sila in a manageable area where you can constantly see the face of your enemy. And then hit him. Or in the beginning, just duck. So that you don't get hit. Investigation of the body takes a long time. It's combined with investigation of the feeling, because the feeling, a bodily feeling, is very close to us. When we actually close our eyes, we only can realize our body through feeling, because we don't see. We feel this part of the body or feel that part of the body. Feeling is the only thing that, when we close our eyes, that we can perceive the body. Unless we turn on our inner eyes, until we see, take a tour into the inside of the body. Then we can see it within. But that takes a time. That can take, for people who are not experienced in this field, of the inner eyes or inwardly visualizing the inside of the body, while the eyes are closed, without taking the help of medical or remembering images from from some anatomic atlas. Really seeing the things lively as they really are. That takes time. If you're not experienced, it can take years until we actually do get some results. So don't be impatient. When we start to practice, we are not impatient. If we would be impatient when we learn to walk, we would have never finished walking. After 3 weeks, we give up walking. Because we cannot stand up yet. Whenever we stand up, we fall over and hit our head. So there's a lot of pain. But we didn't give up because we wanted to walk. It's the same thing with speaking. We didn't give up. And the first sounds we uttered, nobody was able to comprehend, nobody was able to understand. It took us years to be able to speak properly. No? Just remember this. So these kind of practices that we are doing now, the spiritual practice, takes years to get really proficient. Even simple things like tying your shoelaces. Takes weeks or months, to develop it until you can do it blindly. Once you can do it blindly, then it's fine. Once we can do it, immediately we see a person, we can turn it into whatever we want. We can turn it into a skeleton, we can rip off within seconds the skin, or see the flesh, or go into the inside of their body, or in our body, then we have developed it. Before that, we are just training ourselves. So a long time it takes just training ourselves, and the Western mind, that is over the age of 16, doesn't want to train anymore for a long time. He wants to have results very quickly. So he gives up. He thinks this way is not going to lead to anything. He just takes the quick lead to happiness or contentedness that is offered in Buddhism. And that is samadhi. With this, he is satisfied. Any kind of hard work, it is very difficult for the Western mind to stick on. To stick on and be patient, endurant, and putting a lot of effort in. It will take time. I can promise you. There's no one in this assembly, who can do it in just no time. There are people who develop this method very quickly. But they develop this method very quickly because they have trained themselves in their last life. So it just comes up. It just comes up as a natural ability. For others, people who have trained samadhi in their last life, it just comes up as a natural ability to completely turn into the mind into one pointedness. Other people have to work. You have to work for a long time. So be patient. If you really want to get a result, be patient. But that is not. And that is where the biggest problem with the Western mind lies. Impatience. We want to have results fast. If you can't have results fast, then we buy them. The power of money that can buy them. Okay, then go to a teacher and buy your degree of I reach Nibbana or I reach Sotapanna. And I'm sure, there are teachers who sell you this kind of stuff. If you're that impatient, but what can you do with this piece of paper? You can lit your cigarette, or you can wipe your ass off. That's all what you can do. It's a piece of paper written some ink is on it. That has nothing to do with Sotapanna. It has nothing to do with Sakadagami. It has nothing to do with enlightenment, not even Samadhi and so on. Just a piece of paper. If he says it, if he just says it, or if he writes on a piece of paper, it's the same thing. The things that we are looking for, we don't know what we're looking for. The only thing that we know, and now listen very carefully, the only thing that we know, and the only thing that we need to remember, is what we have to do right now at this very moment. That being either concentrating on our mind on one point, to reach one-pointedness, that means calm, or investigation of one of the objects that we take for investigation. And in the beginning, it's just the body objects. Either the outer objects of the body, like hair of the head, hair of the body, the teeth, the nails, and the skin. And the skin is the most deceptive thing. In the moment you will realize it once you are able to rip off the skin. Rip off the skin of yourself or of a person that you're close to. Just rip it off and you will see it. It's amazing and has an amazing effect. Do it in a realistic way. Don't play around. Some people can do it, and they play out only with the medical images. And then they come after half a year, they come to me and say, "Oh, this body is so fascinating." What have they done? They have not done investigation. They've done thinking, assuming about what this function of this organ is. Seeing it in combination with others. Oh yeah, that's how the blood flows, that's how the heart works, and so on and so on. This does no good to us. That's not what we need to know. We need to understand, first of all, we need to understand what is the true nature of disgust. What is the true nature of hate, and what is the true nature of greed? And what is the true nature of all these things that we are attached to? And the body we are completely attached to. We are beyond detachment. We are so attached to the moment we lose this body, we look for the next body. So be patient. If you want to. And that includes Sotapanna. We have to do some sort of investigation of the body to be able to become Sotapanna. Be patient. If you want to get some results, be patient like you were patient when you start to learn to walk. You were patient when you start to learn to talk. You were patient when you start to learn to think. Do you remember? Or reflect about how long did it take you to think properly? 5 years, 7 years, 8 years? We were taught in school, we were taught by our parents how to think properly, how to deduce something. It took a long, long time before we could use this brain. And now, what we are doing with this brain, we use it only for our own personal amusement. For mental masturbation. Getting this excitement out of this mind, or getting that excitement out of this mind. Retrieving this kind of memory that excites us, or that kind of memory that excites us. That's what we use our mind for. Not for doing investigation. Investigation of what these things are, or why they are exciting us, or how can we cut down, or how can we turn them over into something that is loathsome or disgusting. That would be the right kind of investigation. That's where we would use our brain for good results. No, but we don't. We use it to increase doubt. We use it to increase fear. We use it to increase our sexual desire, and so on, and so on. And we constantly burn our heart. We constantly burn ourselves, until there's nothing left of us. Within these powers of greed and hate, everything will evaporate. Even if we still have the form of a monk, everything within us is burned out. If we are a nun or a monk or a practitioner, after 20 years of practice and we have not correctly done our practice, we're just inside burned out. And that's why we have to revert to books, to get to the teachings of the Lord Buddha if you want to stay a monk or if you want to stay as a teacher. To revert to the books of Dhamma, And then just to memorize them and to give them on. Because inside we are completely burned out. There's no Dhamma within us. There's only desert. The winds of greed and hate have completely made a desert out of our own heart. And don't give in to it. Just be very careful, very cautious. Now when we are here, all what we have to do, it's not difficult to remember what we have to do. We have to do either Buddha or investigation of the body, or investigation of pain. That's the most common investigation that we are, for the moment. Not only for the moment, don't think a moment is just a moment. For the moment, the investigation of body and the investigation of pain may drag on for 7 years or even 10 years or 20 years. It depends on how efficient we are doing it. It depends on how fast we get a grip on it. Because we have to learn how to get a grip on it. So that it makes actually progress. So it shows results. And it shows results when we are hateful. And we can turn this hate into something that is actually nice. Or when we are greedy and we can turn this greed into something that is actually disgusting. The greed disappears and the hate disappears. That's when we get a grip on. And before that, we just have to train the mind just to stick with the object, investigate the object. Train the mind. It's nothing than training the mind. But we are lazy. We want to think about this. Oh, now I don't feel well. Who is not feeling well? Yesterday I told you, use this anatta. Use the principle of anatta. This is not me. That doesn't belong to me. This is not myself. Whatever we think is us is actually our enemy. Use this as a help, always to reflect carefully. Never ever be mindless. When a thought comes in, don't be mindless. When a memory comes in, don't be mindless. Use your mindfulness. There is a thought coming in. This thought is of this flavor. So, what am I doing now? Buddha. Okay, replace it with Buddha. And do not suppress it. Suppressing is not wanting to see. That means, or as an example, when we are in a room and we have all this dirty laundry, we don't like to see it. So this dirty laundry, we step or we fall over this dirty laundry. And because we don't want to see it, we put it in our wardrobe. Instead of washing it and putting it away. So, now think about it. All the dirty thoughts, all the dirty memories that come into it, we just put into the box. And one time, this box will explode. It is just like suppressing these things. We wash them and then put them away. So they are not going to be affecting our mind. It's just like getting rid of them. Now if you really see that kind of dirty laundry or dirty thought or dirty memory coming into it, and we just say, okay, dirty. And then I go back to Buddha. Then this means replacing or washing it, and this won't come again. But if our reaction is, I don't want this, or I should not have this, then this is suppressing it. And you can be sure that within no time, within a year or 10 years, you will have the biggest pressure cooker. And one time it will explode. And this explosion will ruin all of your practice. Don't assume that you're without greed and without hate. If we are without greed and without hate, we wouldn't have been born as human beings. So accept it that we have a lot of greed and hate within us. Don't push it away. Accept it, and just replace it with Buddha. Replacement is just washing it for the moment. And then it disappears. But if our reaction is, I should not have this, I don't like this, then this is suppressing. I hope now you understand this difference very well. Replacing it, just, acknowledging it, okay, this is this or this is that, going back to our Buddha, that is proper practice. Reacting towards it, I don't like this, this should not be here, or this shouldn't come up because I'm a monk or I'm a nun or I'm a good practitioner, I shouldn't have thoughts of greed and hate or no thoughts of sexual desire. Of course we have them all. All of us have them. Who are you that you are so special not to have them? You're not a deva. We are human beings. We all have plenty amount of greed and we all have plenty amount of hate. Stick to it, Accept it and replace it with Buddha. Otherwise you will be in danger. This pressure cooker, it's slowly, it takes a long time, to fill up all this wardrobe with all this dirty cloth. But once it's filled up, it will just overwhelm us. And that is the end of our practice. I guarantee you. So take this advice and get in your practice. Be mindful. Be aware of what is going on every moment. Don't let unwholesome thoughts come into the mind. If you see the thought, if you see the flavor of the thought, just don't let them come in. Just immediately go to your Buddha. Or immediately go back to your investigation. And there is no problem. Once we get used to this kind of work, after a while it becomes automatic. After a while it can differ for different people. It can be years or it can be months, depending on how much effort we put into our practice. The more effort we put, the more determination we are, the more full-heartedly we do it, the faster we get there. Okay, and with this I end my talk.